Hey guys, so in this video I'm pulling the sub-transmission out of my buddy's Talon. He was up in West Virginia with us. We did a lot of donuts and rock climbing and a lot of high mileage road driving. We thought he blew his reverse just the way people usually blow reverse, not having it fully engaged before stepping on the throttle. Turns out there was another factor at play here, which you'll see shortly. But this is a pretty good walkthrough how to pull the sub-transmission. Still not sure if we're going to try to rebuild this guy or just replace it with a used one or buy a used one and rebuild that one. Because this thing has a lot of wear inside of it. But enjoy the video. Should be a pretty good walkthrough for how you can get the subtrans out. Once we get it fixed, I'll do another video with how we fixed it and how to put the subtrans back in. Okay, so here's what the bottom side of a Talon X4 looks like. You can see that this oil pan and this oil tank are not very well protected by the skid plates. I'd recommend putting a piece of steel or aluminum, probably steel, from here to here. There's the subtrans. That's the problem on this little guy. So we've already got the rear diff removed and the rear drive shaft. Just got to figure out what to do with the front setup. This thing has a couple extra U-joints, so it's got this long coupler here, maybe like a harmonic balancer type thing, and then it's got a snap ring here like the front of a Talon two-seater, so you can undo that coupling. And then it's got a U-joint, a little shroud, a carrier bearing, another U-joint, and another U-joint in the front. Made it. Obviously, I'm doing this with the tractor because I don't like laying on the ground, and it's an excellent way to do it. I can go a lot higher than that if I need to. I just put the tires in the back of the bucket and good to go. So we got the front drive shaft off. It was kind of a pain in the ass. You can see it there, snaked along all the way there. Had to loosen up the front diff and slide it forward about an inch. So that would have been a lot easier to do before I jacked it up, but you can see where the front diffs move forward about maybe an inch and a quarter, inch and a half. So that gave me enough slack to get those splines off, just barely. So I'm going to mess with, maybe it'd be better to take it off here. Maybe there's less spline here. You can see that shaft, it's pretty long, you have to come off of. So, but now we're ready to clean the subtrans and split it. And before we take it down, we're going to drain it as well. So just to remove the position sensor, your shift position sensor right there, 210s. When you pull that out, it'll start to drain oil. So I zip tied a bucket underneath it to catch it so I don't make a big mess. And while that's continuing draining, I'm going to work on unplugging that sensor to get it out of the way. And then we're going to start demating the transfer case or the sub-transmission. The oil that came out of the sub-transmission looks very disgusting. And I think I figured out why, and also why the sub-trans blew. Here's your breather line. It's connected to nothing. No bueno. I don't know what happened there. Maybe it got into the exhaust or something. It's gone. Alright, so the sub-trans is split from the engine. There was 1, 2, 3 12mm bolts, and then you see those two studs there, two 12mm nuts, and then on the top there was two long 12mm bolts that came through those holes. Now the problem is, I've got it slid forward as far as I can go. The shift shaft is up against the frame, and those studs are nowhere near coming out. The only way to get them out was to remove the stud, so we did the old double nut technique with a 13 and a 12mm nut, tighten them against each other, and then I was able to put my little air ratchet on there and zip the stud right out. If you're wondering where these go, I can try to show you. Right up in there, those two holes right there have the studs in them. Real pain in the dick, but you gotta get the stud out in order to have enough room to get the sub-trans out. So I left this one bolt here holding it together. Now that I got that out, I should be good to drop the sub-trans and get on the bench and start seeing what's broken. So I'm gonna set the phone down and try to pull the sucker, and hopefully we'll be splitting it open shortly. It might not be salvageable, or we might have to replace every single thing in it, like every bearing, etc. So this sub-transmission did not just fail due to the weakness, or I wouldn't say weakness, due to the annoying design of the Honda, I guess that didn't really need to come off. The annoying design of the Honda reverse. This thing failed because it was full of mud and water. And tap. This usually helps everything stay in the bottom case. Of course, you gotta pull this O-ring. Otherwise, it'll get jammed up in the seal. We don't want that, do we? Nice big double O-ring here. Honda does the best job at waterproofing splines. I swear, no one else does anything like that. All right. Oh! Absolutely full of metal and sludge. I try to fix things, but this is such a pain in the ass to pull it's not something I really feel like fixing, right? I'd rather just replace it with something that's totally good, because I don't want to pull this again. It's so much work to get it out. And this thing's been run for literally hundreds of miles, at least in West Virginia, just completely full of mud. So everything on here's got a ton of wear. Oh my God, yeah, that feels terrible. Every bearing is gone. Every thrust ring, just the wear in here is insane. So I had it in park when I took it out, so you can see where this guy sits. I'm also doing this for myself, so I can put it back together properly. There's your reverse, and then there's, I think that's high, and then low is probably on the other side. I'm not sure. But man, it is nasty. The last thing I saw that was this bad was the transmission out of my Razor, which I also didn't try to rebuild. I just replaced it because sometimes it's just not worth it. Amazing this thing was still moving. All these bearings just have a ton of play in them. Yes, I know that that bearing is only a radial bearing, but look, I mean, that's just, they're all like that. Oh man, this is bad. Whew, not good. Idler. That roller bearing looks a little toasted. Thrust washer down there. Oh yeah, everything's just falling apart. Definitely replacing all those bearings, Shane, at a minimum. Shift shaft, probably okay. That shift fork has a lot of wear on it. So this subassembly right here is that's your parking pawl. There's your low, and there's why you lost reverse. See how the edges are totally chewed off of there? So you think if it went all the way in there, it'd have been okay, but for whatever reason, it wouldn't even sit down that far. So it's on this side, that's your low, and this is your reverse, I think. Yeah, those bearings. So all those balls in the center there, see how much play there is there? Yeah, not supposed to be that much play. So that's the only way to lift the side-by-side really high, because by keeping it on the tires, you get the max amount of lift possible.